Okay, we're going to finish studying for the midterm. Now, back to where part one ended, let's pick up to explain each of these images. You're going to write translation, reflection, or rotation. Looking at the image, the first one, you can see that it is a translation. It just moved its image. It looks like it moved it to the right and up some. The next image over in the center is a reflection. You can see how the image is reflected, just like if you're looking in a lake or in a mirror, it's reflected over the red line. And lastly, the last image is rotated. You can see how the image has rotated. All right, now let's go down and look at these next images. What we learned in class, so the first one is to translate the image. The first one is we're just going to translate. So we're translating 4 units to the right and 4 units down. So you can see I wrote those out for us with a prime. So our original is over here in this position, which this point here is the x value is over on the x negative side. So it's over 5 and up 5. So this is the positive direction of y. This is the negative direction of y. This is the positive x, and this is the negative x. So what we do, if it's asking us 4 units right and 4 units down, we just count. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's our first spot, which is -1. Make sure you write the letter J and the prime right by your point so I know which one you're identifying, or write it over out here on the side with your points. So the next one would be I. So I, we're just going to count again 4 units right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 units down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're right here at this position. So when we count from the A, we want to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to the right and down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's why we're at the position of -1, -3. Now we're just going to go ahead and now we're just going to connect those points, which we have 3 sides. Now our next image is then dependent upon that table. We're going to rotate this image 90 degrees clockwise. So when we go up here to the table, we're over here on this side, and we can see this is 90 degrees clockwise. So it's telling us that once we get our x and y point, that our prime point will be, we're going to write the y first, and whatever x is, it's going to be the opposite. So let's look down here at our image. So I wrote out all the letters, and I went and came up with a point. So our original point, which we have J, so we're over 1 in the x direction, -1, and we have to go down 2. So the point here is -1, -2. That's our xy point. Now, if I'm going to follow this table again for 90 degrees clockwise, it's telling me to write the value of y first, and then whatever x is, make it the opposite. So if you look, for the y, I have a -2. For this y here, it's a -1. For this y, it's a -4. So I wrote the y's first. Now I'm going to evaluate my x's, and it's telling me whatever x is, make sure it's the opposite. So this is a 1. This originally was a -1, it becomes a 1. This is a 4, it becomes a -4. This is a +2, it becomes a -2. So again, according to our table, it's asking us to write the y first, and then we're going to write the x point, and whatever it is, make sure it's the opposite. So that gives us our points. Now, how do we go ahead and graph that? Now, you still look at it as even though we set it up with a y coordinate first, when we go to plot, this now becomes the xy point. So we start from the 0, 0 point, and we go over to 1, 2 on the x-axis to -2, and then we go up 1. So here is our point for that one, and we're going to label it accordingly. And again, our v, even though we wrote the y first, we're still considering this as an xy point. So starting from the 0, 0 point, we're going to go over 1 on the x-axis on the negative side, And then our y is a -4, so we have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's our point for that one. Now our last one, again, we're going in the negative x direction, so we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a -4 for the x value. And then we're going to go down 1, 2. And that is our k prime. Now that we have all three of those, this is a three-sided shape. I will give everybody a ruler for cleaner lines. Okay, now for our next image, we are reflecting across the x-axis. So the goal is to go up here to the correct table. As you can see, this is reflection over. And then we have the x-axis here. So you have to pay attention what's going on here in the left column to determine how you're going to write your x and y points from your original. So here's your original, and then these are your... So for the x-axis, it seems like it's pretty easy, because all you're going to do is write the x value, and then whatever the y is, you make it the opposite. So let's take a look going down to reflecting over. To reflect over the x-axis, I went ahead and wrote these points out already. So our original here for the w, you can see when we go over in the x direction a -1, and we go up in the y direction a positive, this is point -1, 4. This point here is -1, 5. This one is, now we're in a positive direction of x. This is +1, and we're up on the positive side of the y-axis. So this is 1, 5. And the a is over 4, up 3. So that is that point. Now to get our prime points, again, it told us, so if we look over here for the x-axis, it's saying record your x and then make the y the opposite. So let's go down, and I recorded all that. So all we have to do for the x, we just record it. So -1, -1, this is a 1, and this is a 4. That's our first point. The second point is saying whatever this y is, make it the opposite. So this is a 4, this is a -4. So the y direction is 5, is a -5, and this one's a 3, so now this is a -3. So again, what we did is looked at the table. We should record all our x's, and then whatever the y is, we make it the opposite value. Now to go ahead and graph the image, we're going to follow the same pattern as we did above. We start from the 0, 0 origin. And now this becomes, no matter how we record it, we're still going to count by determining this is an x value and this is a y value. So that means that we have to go over one direction in the x and down 4 in the y. Now to plot my points, with my w, I'm going to go over 1 for the x direction and down 4 in the y. Same with the m, over 1 in the x direction, down 5 in the y direction. B is now going to the positive side of x, 1, and then still going in the negative direction of y, which is -5. Which makes sense because we're reflecting. It's going to be on the opposite side. And lastly, we're going to go over 4, and we're going to go down 3, and there's all our points. Now we're going to go ahead and connect those. Again, I'm using a really bad drawing pad, so my line's on straight, but just make sure when you're counting off that you understand that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and your original one did too. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. Lastly, you can see that we're going to reflect over the y equals -1 line. Now, whenever you see this red line, we're going to reflect over that. So, for instance, if we count 1, 2, that's for B, then that means we have to go 1, 2 in this direction for that B point right there. Now, if we're going to do I is 1, 2, 3 in this direction. It means it goes 1, 2, 3 in this direction for I. L, if we go down 1, that means we got to go up 1 for L. Now W, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That means we have to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's all your points. Make sure you label them appropriately, and then you want to connect the lines. Now I just wanted to show you an example. What if this one, this red line now, it becomes, so it's now you just would count, if the I is over in this direction for 1, then you would count over in the opposite direction. So let me do a different color. So that would be, so I from the red line is over 1, so you would go over 1, and here's I. W, it's over 1, so you would go over 1. It's just showing you whether you're reflecting over the Y or the X axis. Just make sure you're paying attention to the red line. So again, if I have B going over once, you go over once this way. L is going 1, 2, 3, 4, so you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 in this direction. Okay, the next question on the exam is we're going to pick 2 answers for each triangle. Let's go back and review that. So remember that when we're talking about the outer parts, the lengths of the legs, that is based on these 3 different categories. Scalene is when the lengths are all different sizes, which we can tell by our hash marks. These are all different sizes. Isosceles, this is when we have at least 2 of the sides are equal. Equilateral, that means where all of your sides are equal. Now, when it comes to the angle, it's acute. It means all the angles are less than 90 degrees. When there's a right angle, we know at least one of the angles is 90. And obtuse, it means one angle is greater than 90 degrees. So let's go ahead and take a look. So if you look, all of these sides are different. So we know this is scalene. Now we look inside here at the angles. We know all of them are less than 90 degrees. So we have acute scalene. Now look at this triangle. We can see all the hash marks indicating all these sides are equal. So this is an equilateral. This is based on the sides. Now, when it comes to our angles, all of our angles are below 90, so this is acute. So again, let me give you a screenshot so you can take a look at the differences, study that, and hopefully it helps you.